here to help. Don't eat the help.
A dwarf walks alone into a pitch-black pit beneath a pyramid in Marine. Chained in the dark are two dragons, starving, abandoned, furious. They have burned or eaten almost every living thing that has come near them. And this small, unarmed man walks straight up to them and lives. He talks to them. He touches them. He reaches into the dark and unlocks their chains, and they let him. The internet had an answer ready before the scene even finished. Tyrion Lannister must be a secret Targaryen. The dragons smelled the dragon blood in his veins. Case closed, but that answer falls apart the moment you actually look at it. Because the show already gave you a different explanation in the scene itself, and almost nobody listens to it. And there's a second scene in the books that quietly demolishes the blood theory completely. So before we get there, hold on to 4 questions. I'm going to answer every one of them. 1. If the dragons spared Tyrion because of Targaryen blood, why did they burn a man who actually had it? 2. What did Tyrion himself say, out loud, about why they didn't kill him? Because he told us, and it wasn't blood. 3. The dragons had burned or eaten almost everyone who approached them, so what did Tyrion do differently in that pit? 4. If the answer isn't blood, why did the writers leave it looking exactly like it was? 4 questions. 1 scene the whole internet read backwards. Let's break it down. Here's what most people get wrong. They treat the pit scene as a clue, a puzzle piece the writers slipped in to hint that Tyrion is a hidden Targaryen. And to be fair, the theory isn't crazy. It's one of the most popular fan theories in the entire series, and it has real circumstantial support. We'll steelman it properly, because this channel doesn't win arguments by pretending the other side is stupid. But the dragons sensed his blood isn't the explanation the scene gives you, it's the explanation viewers brought with them. The scene itself, the words Tyrion actually speaks, points somewhere else, entirely. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The simpler answer was sitting in the dialogue the whole time, so let's do this properly. First, the theory at its strongest, then Tyrion's own words, then the book scene that breaks it. Part 1. The theory at its strongest. Let's build the secret Targaryen case the way its believers would, because it deserves that respect. Up to this point, the grown dragons have only ever tolerated one person, Daenerys. Everyone else who got close was burned or eaten. Then Tyrion, a stranger, a Lannister, walks in alone, and they don't just spare him, they let him touch them and free them. Tywin Lannister spent Tyrion's whole life treating him like an imposter in his own family.
Men's laws give you the right to bear my name and display my colours, since I cannot prove that you are not mine.
And with his dying breath in the privy, Tywin tells him,
"You're no son of mine. I am your son."
String those together, and the theory writes itself. A father who pointedly never claims him. A queen's dragons that treat him like one of their own. The old book rumour that the Mad King, Aerys, lusted after Tyrion's mother Joanna. If Tyrion is half Targaryen, the pit scene isn't a plot hole. It's a confession hidden in plain sight. That's a genuinely elegant reading, and I understand why hundreds of thousands of people believe it. So that's the case at full strength. Here's where it starts to crack. Part 2. What Tyrion actually says. This is the payoff to my second question, and it's the part the theory has to talk over to survive. So let me just ask it plainly. When Tyrion walked up to those dragons, what did he think was going to protect him? He tells us, out loud in the scene. His words,
"Dragons are intelligent. More intelligent than men, according to some maesters. They have affection for their friends and fury for their enemies. I am their friend."
Read that back, because every word matters. He doesn't say, "They can smell my blood." He doesn't say, "I am one of them." He says they are intelligent, and that he means to be their friend. His entire theory of why this will work is conduct, not ancestry. The show put the answer in his mouth. And watch what he actually does in the pit. He moves slowly. He speaks in a low, calm voice. He tells them a story. How as a boy he'd wanted a dragon of his own. He doesn't approach as a threat. He approaches as the one thing these starving, chained animals haven't had in weeks. Someone calm, someone alone, talking to them instead of shouting. Notice Tyrion's own hedge too. According to some maesters, The show is signalling that even this is disputed lore, not hard fact. But it points at the real mechanism. If the creatures really can read a friend from an enemy, then a calm, unarmed man who wishes them no harm is safe, and a mob that means to chain and steal them is not. That's not magic, that's an animal reading a room. And it sets up the one piece of evidence that breaks the blood theory in half. Part 3. The man who had the blood. Here's the payoff to my very first question. Because there is a character who did the exact thing Tyrion did. Approach these same two dragons while actually possessing the one thing the theory says matters. And it got him killed. One honest flag first, because this channel lives on it. This next part is book only. The show never adapted it. So I'm using George R.R. Martin's novels to interrogate a show scene, a control experiment HBO chose not to film. Keep that split in mind. In A Dance with Dragons, Prince Quentyn Martell comes to Meereen with a plan. He intends to tame one of Daenerys' chained dragons, Rhaegal or Viserion, the very same two Tyrion frees in the show. And his entire plan rests on one belief, that his Targaryen ancestry will let him do it. He has real dragon blood through his mother's line, and he is counting on it. He sneaks into the pit with a whip, the way he saw Daenerys command them. He tries to tame Viserion. And Rhaegal, the dragon he isn't watching, bathes him in fire from behind. He doesn't die a clean, instant death. He lingers for 3 days, covered in burns, and then he's gone. Sit with that contrast. The man with confirmed Targaryen blood, who staked his life on that blood protecting him, was burned alive by these dragons. The man with no proven claim to it at all walked out of the same pit, untouched. If blood were the simple switch the theory needs it to be, those two outcomes should be reversed. They aren't. Quentyn doesn't disprove the theory single-handedly. His death has other factors too, and we'll get to them, but the strongest parallel in the entire saga complicates the blood reading rather than confirming it. Part 4. So what actually happened? This is the payoff to my third question. What did Tyrion do differently? And the answer is everything about how he entered that pit. Line the two men up. Quentyn came to steal. Tyrion came to free. Quentyn arrived with hired sellswords, in disguise. On the same chaotic night, an armed coup was tearing through the pyramid. The dragons were already agitated, surrounded by shouting and violence. Tyrion came alone, in near silence with no weapon raised. Quentyn cracked a whip at them, the tool of a captor. Tyrion knelt in the dark and told them about his childhood. If Tyrion's read on these creatures is right, and Quentyn's death suggests something in that pit was making real distinctions, then the variable that changed wasn't ancestry. It was demeanor. One man read as a threat, armed, grasping, arriving amid slaughter. The other read as harmless, even kind. Two starving, abandoned animals, sharp enough to tell the difference, chose accordingly. That is the more grounded explanation the title promises. Not a secret in his blood, but a choice in how he walked in. And it's a better story too. The blood theory says Tyrion was special from birth, that he did nothing, and his genes saved him. The other reading says he survived because of who he chose to be in that moment. Everything about his approach signalled he wasn't a threat, as he walked up to the thing he'd wanted his whole life and refused to treat it as a monster. One of those is a genetic accident, the other is character. The show at its best was always about the second thing. Then why does it still look like blood? My fourth question, and I'm not going to dodge it. If the answer is behaviour, why did the writers stage it to look so much like a bloodline reveal? Why let Tywin's "No Son of Mine" hang in the air one season earlier? The honest answer is that the show wanted it both ways and never resolved it. According to some Maester's hedge, the lingering shots, Tywin's denials, the writers deliberately left the door open because ambiguity is good drama. So I won't tell you the blood theory is impossible. Tyrion could still, one day, be revealed as a Targaryen in Martin's unfinished books, and if that happens, this scene gets reread again. What I'm telling you is narrower and firmer. Nothing in the scene as it exists requires blood to explain it. The text gives you a clever man and a wary animal. The books give you Quentyn burning. The blood reading is something the audience adds on top. A good theory, but not what the scene actually shows. That's the difference between a clue and a Rorschach test. A clue points one way. This scene lets you see whatever you brought with you. bring the theory, and it looks like proof. Watch what's actually on screen. The patience, the story, the goodwill offered to two frightened animals. And it looks like exactly what Tyrion said it was. The scene never tells us the dragons sensed Targaryen blood. That reading is one the audience brings. The scene itself shows Tyrion earning their trust through the way he approaches them. Quentyn Martell is the reminder that ancestry alone guarantees nothing. A man with real dragon blood died reaching for these same two dragons. The ambiguity remains, and the writers wanted it that way. But nothing on screen requires blood. The more grounded reading was in Tyrion's own words all along. And if this changed how you see that pit scene, hit like and subscribe. It genuinely helps the channel keep making these. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.